Romantic relationships in brown culture, from a young age, it's a bit of a taboo, I think, almost.
When it comes to the topic of marriage, like, just wait. Honestly, there is no rush. Just wait. There's no timeline. There's no box to tick.
What about you? Like, what was your sort of criteria in choosing your ideal partner when you were young?
Oh my god, I
Do you
think
remember?
who was like so romantic. Like flowers every day, chocolates, that kind of silly thing.
Yeah, singing, swimming, dancing, being able to play the guitar, being able to ride bicycles because I couldn't.
That's so
Being
random.
very physically active. I had a massive list when I was young. I got like a birthday gift from one of my guy friends. But then I told my dad that it was from a girlfriend. Like,
I've done that so many times, girl. Out of school,
And
basically out of
done
school.
with school, yeah,
Preferably out of uni as well. But like,
yes. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh,
okay,
when are you getting married?
time to get married. Get on that quickly. Respecting the traditional custodians, we acknowledge the Turrbal and Kaurna peoples as the original inhabitants of the lands now known as Brisbane and Adelaide. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and recognise their enduring connection to the land, waters and culture.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Brown Girls Down Under. I'm Deshani, one of your hosts, joining from Adelaide, South Australia. And I've got the birthday girl with me this week. Happy birthday, Shanali.
Thank you. Well, one day late, but thank you anyway.
Yes. Happy belated
Thank
birthday.
you
yes.
so
Of course,
much.
it was yesterday.
Yes, it was yesterday.
How was the birthday week?
Birthday week was, work, so kind of boring. But I did take my birthday off because I refused to work on my birthday.
Nice.
Yes, I refused to work on that day. So I took it off and I just really wanted to spend time in like nature. Like I really wanted to be in water.
I saw the photos.
Yes,
They look amazing.
I like absolutely love waterfalls and like rainforests and stuff like that. So that was like my biggest thing. Like if I don't get the opportunity to spend time with my, family, because obviously they're not here, I want to be in nature. So we went to this really nice national park called Condalila. If you're in Brisbane or in Queensland, it's definitely something that you should check out. It's in the Sunshine Coast. So
Is that too far from your
no,
place?
it was about
or?
an hour 15 drive.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
so not
not bad.
too far. But the thing is, it was raining yesterday. I mean, out of all days, like Queensland decides to like rain on my birthday, and it was actually cold. Like I was in like gym clothes, and everyone else was like in hoodies and like long sleeved. It was so, like puffer jackets. I was like, who has puffer jackets in Queensland? Like it's not even winter. But it was like coldish, and it was quite foggy. But like Ryan was like, no, like we came this far. You are gonna get into the water. That's gonna happen.
Yeah. Was it cold?
It was freezing. Like, oh my God, I put my foot in and I was like, oh, I can't do this. It's too cold. But I just jumped in. Like, I was like, I need to get in.
Yeah.
Like, I need to stop
I think
thinking.
after a while, your body
adjusts.
Sort of
Yeah, and then it was just so comfortable after that. So I was just in the water. And then after that, we spent some time there. And then my next favorite thing in life is op shopping. I love op shopping. So Ryan took me to these two really big op shops and I went in there, but I didn't buy anything for myself. I was buying toys for my kids. Because
that's so
but that's what happens when you
sweet.
become a teacher. This is what happens. Like, you kind of see something and you're just like, oh, I think this kid will like it. So I bought like a bunch of toys for them. But yeah, it was like a pretty good day, pretty chill.
Nice.
Sad that I'm getting older.
that sounds
but
lovely.
Yeah, it's like
Well, older and
wiser. Yeah, I don't know about the wiser part.
Exactly.
But yeah. How was your week anyway?
Oh, it was just pretty standard. It went really fast, but I think now it's starting to get a little cold.
Right.
I feel like it's just after very hot wave in
Yeah.
last week. It's now all of a sudden gotten cold. I'm starting to wear jackets on site as well. Like
Oh,
the mornings
wow.
are usually like 15 now.
But I feel like last
whereas
week
it
you
used
said it was hot, right?
yeah, it was 29, 20, 25 to 29 every time
Oh,
I woke up
wow.
around 5:40
Yeah.
on site. But this week it was 15,
Wow, that's a big change.
16.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It was, yeah. But yeah, I think I like obviously that's because in when it's like too hot, you get a lot of flies on site, which
Oh,
I
okay.
hate.
Yeah, I
I
know.
can't stand, and they're massive flies too. They're fucking fat flies
Yeah.
too, and I feel like they're because they're very chunky. They're very slow. You know how you can't catch flies,
No,
you
you
know,
can't.
because they're too fast,
Yeah.
and they're like I don't know, they've got really good reflexes or something. But these flies on our side, they're so chunky. Literally, like it takes them like a good minute to get from A to B. Like
Really?
that, yeah, yeah,
They're
and
plus
they all they
sized.
want to do is just stick to you.
Oh,
And
yuck.
I hate it. But
Yeah.
usually when it's like during winter, they're not there. It's
Yeah.
only during summer that you
Yeah.
get the flies. So I do like winter
Yeah.
on site especially. It can be like very cold sometimes, but mostly it's nice to like work like you I feel like I'm more motivated to work out on site when it's like winter because in summer it's just
I
disgusting
know.
and I hate it.
Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But other than that, it was really good. Yeah, it's going really fast. And today was quite busy. We went to the gym this morning and then we went to do our grocery shop and I came back home like around 2:30 and then I prepped all my stuff that I'm gonna need for my meal prepping tomorrow. And then we went to play badminton. So I started playing badminton again
Oh,
after
good.
like, I don't know, 7-8 months.
Is it just the two of you or do you go with friends?
And one of MJ's work friends, like one of the friends from work. So yeah, and it's just it's very good for cardio, but yeah, it's just because I'm not a big fan of cardio. I just I can't. It's
Yeah.
just- I think I don't have a really good heart health either because as in terms of like you know how in your Apple Watch sometimes you get like if you've gone for a run or something it says that your heart rate isn't
Yeah.
that low. I don't know, heart health or heart rate, I don't know what that's
Okay.
called, but it says that you could improve that or something.
Oh, really? Okay.
But that's why I thought get into because I'm not a huge fan of running though. I did that for a while, but not a huge fan. Whereas when you're playing a sport, you like kind of don't feel like you're struggling as much because you're focusing on winning or
you're having
like,
fun. Yeah.
yeah. So
I'm the opposite. I actually prefer cardio. Like even with my gym
Right.
classes, I'm more likely to miss out on my weights classes, which we have twice a
Really?
week. And we have
Yeah.
4 times we have cardio, and I never miss my cardio classes ever.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really
I
good.
prefer that. I just really like that pump. I just get really bored with
Nice.
like weights and stuff. But obviously I know weights are really important for, muscles and
But
stuff.
as also
Exactly, yeah,
is
cardio
very
as well. But then you kind of need to have a
Hand
balance
in
of
hand.
both. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I hate it when like, have you done Bulgarian split
I have,
squats?
yes.
I hate doing them because every time I do them, my heart rate goes to like 170. And I'm like,
That's
oh my God.
good.
Yeah, it's just, well, it's also because, when you do it, your body is like, you're trying to coordinate a lot of muscles at
Yeah.
the same time. So, I think
Girl,
that's
you are
why
talking
it's
about
just-
170. If you come to one of my classes on Wednesday, like Wednesday is our worst day, my heart rate is like 186. Like it's intense cardio. Like this week, I was like, I'm gonna throw
How
up.
do you keep up?
I'm gonna throw up. I was like so sick. But then I was so tired that morning. I was like, I really can't go. But I pushed myself and went. And I was like on the floor. I was like, I feel like I'm gonna like die. And my trainer is like,
you
come
ever-
on, you can do it. You can do it. I was like, no. leave me
It's
alone.
nice though. I can't see myself doing cardio by myself. I think when you do cardio, like you need like, that
You need other people.
enthusiastic group
Yeah,
of,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Have you ever like thrown up after a class or like in the middle of a
Almost, but
class?
not. I think it's just that feeling, it comes up. And obviously, when I go in the
Yeah.
morning, my stomach's empty, so there's nothing in there anyway. I get the feeling,
Yeah,
but
right.
I don't actually. I just feel like I
I
really.
have twice.
Really? Oh.
Yes. This was when I first started like
Oh, wow.
training. It's because I used to do because I obviously when I started, I haven't had any sort of exercise. I haven't done any sort of exercise in my life. So we started doing like full body exercises with my personal trainer. And then after like I think 4 months or so, 4 5 months, I think she said now that you're used to like your body's used to doing all these exercises, you're okay to like split yourself, like split your workouts into muscle groups and then
Okay.
start training them individually. So I used to do one upper body day with her and one lower body day with her. Obviously lower bodies you tend to do more weights.
Yeah.
And when I used to do this, the leg press machine, obviously
Yeah.
I would have my tea before I go in, which is like very dumb. Because I cannot not function without my tea. Obviously it's okay, but you have to just give yourself some time
Yeah.
from
A
having tea
break.
to like,
Especially because it's milk. Like, I'm guessing you had milk tea.
it
Yeah.
is, yeah. It's just, yeah,
Yikes.
sometimes I think obviously when I'm training with my personal trainer, you don't get as many
Yeah,
breaks
true.
as you would like when you're training by
You don't get a
yourself.
phone break, a scrolling break.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there was like I think a couple of times where like I threw up, but then
Oh,
I still came
wow.
out and like finished the
Oh, good
workout.
on
But you
you.
do
Okay.
feel better
Yeah.
after.
You do. Yeah.
Yeah, but eventually my body just like
It's just like, fine.
got used
Let's
to
just
it. It's
do
like
this.
fine.
If you insist.
Yeah, but I think it's also because that those days, like when I used to train with my personal trainer, it was just like early morning too, because I wouldn't otherwise train like early morning.
Yeah.
But now I met my personal trainer's now working for the same company that I work
really?
now. She's on the mind side as well, and I met
Really?
her this week, and it was really good to see because I obviously after I moved houses, I didn't like I couldn't do the same sessions as I used to. And now it was really nice to see her. We got really excited. We were just like
So is she
screaming
working
in the
as a
middle of
personal
the.
trainer there?
No, she's working as a nipper.
Okay.
It's a frontline role where you know how we have these machines that used to drill the actual, what do you call that, not stoves, but imagine a wall, you're drilling into it.
Right.
But the bits that goes inside the wall, those nippers, they lift them and put them inside the machine.
Oh, okay.
So it's a very
Physical
physical role,
Yeah.
but obviously she's going to kill it because she's a superstar and she's so strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, I knew, like she told me she was going to apply, and then I was like, oh, can't wait to see you. And then I actually met her, and it was like really nice to see her. And I was like I was talking to her about how she's finding it because it's a big change of lifestyle as well. And then she told me she gets up at 3 a.m. to go to the gym.
Wow, that's commitment.
Before work. I'm like, of course you do.
Yeah.
Because you're like a little
superwoman.
overachiever. Yeah. But no, she seems to be absolutely smashing it. And she's like, it was really nice to see her.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, very good, very good.
Cool. Yeah.
But yeah, I also had an interesting conversation this week with some people. Obviously, these people are a bit of from the older generation, so they didn't grow up with having the same, I guess, sort of with social media. I think we had, even though we had a different upbringing, I like to think that we had a lot of information available
Yeah,
to us with social
absolutely.
media and the
Yeah.
internet. So we had the chance to actually, even though we were taught to believe something,
Yeah.
we had the chance to actually see how other societies, you know, function, and maybe re-evaluate what we've been taught,
Yeah.
and maybe, you know, customize our thoughts and beliefs into
Yes.
thinking certain things. But this person was telling me, this person was an older person, but he was telling me how when they see like a overweight person, obese overweight person, they automatically thinks they're dumb. And then I was like, how do I respectfully handle
Call
this
you
situation?
a dumbass.
Yeah, and it was like very shocking.
Oh,
And he knows
wow.
that it's wrong. Sorry, yeah, that person knows that it's wrong.
You already said he,
because-
so it's okay.
And then he's like, well, yeah, okay. And then he was like, he knows that that's wrong because his sister is overweight and she's an incredibly smart woman. But he's just can't seem to, and he wants to, but he can't seems to, I don't know, change his mind about it or change his thinking pattern.
You
And he
can.
just can't seems to initially get rid of that judgment that he's doing whenever he sees that person. And the other there was another person who contributed to this conversation, saying that he, like, that person, he doesn't think that they're dumb, but he also thinks that they're very lazy or something like that. And then they asked me what my thoughts and views were. This was like in person. I'm like, I want to be respectful because these people are older than me, and I do understand why. I want to understand why they're thinking this way. But then I thought, look, I don't. And they asked me, look, do you not feel sorry for them when you see like an overweight person? I'm like, look, I don't understand the situation you're describing. But if you're asking me if I see an overweight person standing in front of me, and you're asking me how I feel about that, it's like I feel nothing. I don't feel sorry. I see a person, I don't feel anything about that person because unless I see him or her or like any person struggle,
Yeah.
I don't feel like I should feel anything, or I don't. Yeah,
You don't give it a
so I don't
second
know.
thought.
Yeah, I feel a person.
Yeah.
That's, like, I see a person. I don't feel anything about it. But then, and then it's like, why do you not feel like sorry for them? Why do you not think they, you know, they've let go of their habits or whatever? And I'm just like, well, first of all, we don't know what
There's circumstances, right?
instances are. We don't
Yeah.
know. Like, I feel like if I see like an obese person struggling, I'm not gonna judge them because I don't know if there's an injury or a medical condition or anything
Exactly.
that's stopping them
Yeah.
from being active and we don't know what, like, would you judge a obese person in a wheelchair the same way?
Yeah, true.
You wouldn't, right? Would you judge an anorexic person the same way? You wouldn't. So why would you just judge an obese person?
And I feel like
It's a
that
bit-
is almost like the same as looking at a black person and like being racist towards them in your head and being like, oh, like they're a criminal or they're dangerous or something, like, you know, it's
Yeah.
kind of like those preconceptions that I mean, the fact that he's saying that he thought of that and then he wants to change it, but he can't. Yes, you can, sir. You can change it. Like, you
Yeah.
are, like, I'm guessing an adult with a developed brain. Like, of course, the thought comes into your head, but then you can stop yourself and fix that thought. And then
Yeah.
even for you to
I
talk
mean,
about it, like,
Yeah.
ugh.
And I think I do understand, like, I admire that he accepts that it's wrong. Acceptance is the first step, right? So I want to applaud him for that. But I thought, like, I mean, the only reason he told me about this is, like, he thinks that it's, you know, I feel like I've created, like, a safe space for him to say that, which you know, I think I'm like, look,
You're the
I
therapist.
know what. Yeah, I'm like, I should be getting paid for this, but okay. But I do understand, like, sometimes, you know, older generations, they grew up in different societies. They grew up in societies, had different ideologies. these people who grew up having these ideologies sometimes may struggle with the modern world,
Yeah.
right? So that's where I thought like that came from. But I thought that was a very interesting question, and I
Yeah.
got really riled up, and I was
I
like
can
telling Angie about it.
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, how could you? This is very interesting, but yeah, anyway. But then I told them my thoughts were, and they're like, "Oh, Dashani, you've got a heart of gold. You're too nice." And I'm
Like,
like,
no, I'm just a human. And like frankly, it's really none of my business. Like that's
exactly. Yeah, and then I'm just thinking. So every time you see like an obese person, talking to you, you just don't listen to them because you think
they're dumb.
they're dumb. Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
know.
I don't
It's
understand how like the brain and
intellect like
yeah, like
intelligence has anything to
anything
do
like
with your
what is
body
the
weight.
correlation there? Are
Anyway,
we dumb?
but yeah, it
Are
was
we do not
interesting to
get it because
see
we're dumb?
how
Like what?
yeah, interesting to see how like different people think, right? It's
Yeah.
just yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, I think I'm glad like our generations and the future generations are more
Let's hope so.
you
Yeah.
know
We're doing
aware
better.
and
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. All right, so moving on with the podcast,
What we
I
actually
think
wanted to talk about.
but yeah, so the topic we've chosen today is relationships and love languages. So in the first part, we'll obviously speak about relationships, and then we'll slowly move on to our thoughts and what we've learned about love languages. But yeah, in terms of relationships is a very broad topic. It's not just you've got. How do you define? What's the official definition of a relationship? I don't know what that
I
is,
think
but
I mean, if like the gist of it is like basically connections, right? Like human
yeah,
connections. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, with another living form or
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
living being,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in this category, so you obviously have relationships with your friends, which we call friendships, and then you have relationships with your family, and then you obviously have romantic relationships. Which is an interesting topic in brown culture because it's a bit
Very.
different to the everyday, like the Western culture.
Yeah.
So it's just addressed in a very different way from a very young age to, and also I think even in adult relationships, it's a bit different in our culture, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
So romantic relationships in brown culture, from a young age, it's a bit of a taboo, I think, almost. I don't know if it's changing now. Do you think?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because obviously I don't really have anyone in that kind of age group that I personally associate. But I think
Yeah.
us growing up, and like this is a conversation I had with one of my really good friends this afternoon as well, like how from the time we were, young, like in school, like, we kind of lived a very fear-based life, I think.
Yeah.
Like at home, we like our parents were just so strict and they just told us like it was like you can do this and you can't do any of these other things. There's like no in
Yes.
between, there's no gray area. And
Yeah.
like you cannot have a boyfriend until you are like, or a girlfriend until you are like 20 years old or 22
Yeah.
years old.
Out of school.
Out of school,
And
basically out of
done with
school.
school. Yeah. Yeah.
Preferably out of uni as well. But like
Yes. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh,
okay,
when are you getting married?
time to get married. Like, get on that quickly. I need those grandkids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's the
I
same
know,
at school, right? Like teachers are like so strict like when we grew up, so strict about relationships. And if they even got the slightest idea that you were having any kind of relationship, they would just bully
Yeah.
you. Like they would
And shame you.
yeah,
And
like
yeah.
slut shame you, bully you into just when the reality is those are like such normal feelings from the time you are young.
Exactly.
And
That's right. And you're taught in school that this is very normal. But
yeah.
you're not allowed to do this.
I'm gonna like say this story. So I saw this post on Instagram today. So this lady, she's like Asian American, and she had posted that her daughter, who's 6 years old, she's a millennial as well. Her 6-year-old daughter, she went to pick her up from school, and she noticed that a boy, like one of her friends, had been like squeezing her cheeks and gave her a kiss on the cheek, right? And this girl, I know, right? Like so cute. And this girl's first impression was, oh my God, like what just happened? Like I need to put a stop to this. And then she kind of reflected, she stopped and reflected and was like, hang on, nothing really just happened there, you know? It's
Yeah.
me trying to sexualize that and make that into something that
Yes.
it's not. And then she
Oh,
thought
okay.
of her childhood when something similar happened to her. Her parents completely overreacted. Like they were Chinese immigrants to America. So obviously that's kind of what they knew. So they completely overreacted. They went to the school and they spoke to like the principal or whatever and was like, you need to put them in separate classes. Like they can't even look at each other. And like
Yes.
such an overreaction to such a minor incident. And then she said she kind of grew up with this thing like, oh, it's my fault, like I shouldn't have made that happen, like this is all on me, and she like completely blamed herself, whereas it's just
Yeah.
such a like minor thing. And then she, using that reflection, she had a conversation with her daughter and asked the daughter like, how did you feel about this incident? And the daughter was just so nonchalant about it. She was just like, I don't know. And that was it. That's
Yeah.
the end of the story. She's probably not even
Exactly.
going to remember it tomorrow.
Yes.
But that's
Yes.
that's all it is, you know. Whereas like
Yeah.
our parents and teachers and our generation just made this big deal about something so
Yeah.
normal, like, and then made us
Normal.
feel guilty about having, you know, emotions. Like obviously when you're 13, 14, you have little crushes, and those crushes are just like, how dare
Yes.
you like the opposite
Yeah.
sex, you know?
Exactly. And you're like, I think it also starts with our like, schooling system of like,
Yeah.
separating,
Separation, segregation,
yeah,
100%.
and
Absolutely.
that's a big issue in itself. But and even you're like scared to have like guy friends or
Friends, that's the
anything and
thing.
either. And then I remember this more specifically because I had so in the tuition classes that I went to, I had guy friends there, but I like none, like my parents didn't know about it, and I didn't want them to know because in case they got like very suspicious and being very overprotective
Yeah.
parents they are. And I come from a so in my family there's 3 girls, right? We don't have any boys or anyone, like we didn't have any sort of like cousins that were boys that age either. So it was like very, I didn't know, it's just they probably weren't gonna react like overreact in any way either, but it's just that I was scared of them. I don't know, I was scared of them reacting
In a
in a
negative
certain
way.
way. So
Yeah.
I just, yeah, so I remember one time I got like a birthday gift from one of my guy friends, but then I told my mom, I told my dad that it was from a girlfriend.
Oh,
Like
I've done that
I
so many
didn't
times, girl. So many times.
because I was so scared they'll be like,
Yeah.
or they'll be like, all of a
Like,
sudden they'll be
what are
very
his intentions?
suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then later on, I think I, I do understand this because I feel like I'm their first child, so they're also learning how to
You're the
parent
trial
through
child.
me. Yeah, exactly. So they're also learning a lot of things from me or
Yeah.
through me, and then I slowly started introducing. I actually took a big step and introduced one of my guy friends to my mom at the class, and they're like,
Okay.
they had a very nice conversation and all of that, and I slowly started introducing all these friends to her. And then few years later, my mom's driving my younger sister's guy friends, like she's dropping them at their house. So I'm like, you have the childhood I never had.
Yeah.
You don't have to live in fear.
Yeah. You should.
Nothing.
You should thank me.
Exactly. So, but I do
Yeah.
understand obviously where parents are coming from. They're very overprotective of their children in our culture. But yeah, should it change? It shouldn't be the way it
No.
is, right? Because
Yeah, I think it's more important. Like, again, this is what my friend and I were talking about as well. For a parent to be like a safe space where your child can come to, like, where
Yeah.
if their first reaction to you talking about a guy friend is to just like blow their top off, is then you're never going to come to them for anything,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's why it's
Yeah.
like really, I think, I mean, obviously we are not parents, so we can't like sit on a high
Yeah.
horse and talk, but I think it's just like common sense, really.
Mm.
It's just about being in a, like, have a safe relationship where they can come to you and talk about anything, and like that they're not
Yeah.
going to like stray because they can talk to you about certain things.
Exactly. They'd rather, you'd rather if they come to you and talk about these things before they, make a mistake or
Yeah.
anything like
Or
that.
go to their
So that
friends. I mean, what did their friends know? Like, we were all dumb. Like,
exactly.
we didn't know anything at
Yeah.
that age. So,
Ugh,
yeah.
just yeah. It's very interesting to see all this. Whereas you watch all these Hollywood movies where kids are the parents are parenting a different way, and you're
Yeah.
wishing, oh, that's just so cool. It's just no
Yeah. And
big deal.
it's not
And I
what
think
we
all this
experienced.
unnecessary overprotectiveness and also making a big deal out of something that it's not
It's not.
is like doing more harm than
Yeah,
good as
yeah,
well
absolutely,
sometimes. Yeah.
absolutely. And I think this is like, I don't know if I ever spoke about this before, but when I was doing my placement, my second placement when I was studying teaching, I did it at a public school, like a co-ed public school. And during the days that I was on placement, they had like a seminar where like a paramedic and a nurse and like a few other people came and did like a talk on drugs and sex education. And these kids
Yeah.
were like high school, so 12-year-olds to 16-year-olds, 16, 17. So they were all sitting together. And honestly, like, I feel like the brown in me was so evident that day because I was so embarrassed sitting in that seminar when they were talking about, because they were literally like talking about everything, man. Like female condoms, orgasms, everything. And I was just like, this is awkward. Like,
And as an adult, you felt embarrassed and
exactly.
uncomfortable,
And these
right? Which,
kids were so nonchalant about it. They were just like
yeah,
one girl was like, where can I buy female condoms from? And they gave them information. And it was so
yeah,
normal. They
right.
were talking pregnancy, everything. Like, everything was so normal. And I was thinking, we just touched on it when we were in school on us in our science lesson.
Yes,
And
because
even
the teachers were embarrassed
no,
too
they
to
just
talk
skimmed
about it
over
or to
it,
teach you.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
they don't talk about
they don't teach you
periods,
anything. Yeah,
nothing. It was so like such a big deal when really, like, at the end of the day, if it's gonna happen, it'll happen. You don't have to like,
yeah,
it'll either be the safe way or the unsafe way. And it's better to
exactly.
just have them prepared for the safe way rather
Yeah,
than, them learning from friends or like, older people who might have wrong intentions or the internet or
In,
something
yeah,
than,
exactly.
making mistakes. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, even
so
like,
funny.
huh?
That's so funny though,
Yeah,
like
like, and
how
I
that
think
works. Yeah.
relationships as well, again, like in the brown community, I feel like growing up, we were kind of like, family was number one, right? Like, our family relationships were like
Yeah.
absolutely everything. Like, you have to give priority to your family. And then friendships also, it was, I don't know like what your experience was like, but it was kind of like select few who like your parents approve because
Yes.
they could have
Yeah, of course.
like, they could be bad influence or something. Like, it was, you were kept very, very safe, like, to an
Yeah.
extreme of safe, where
Oh, yeah.
you were not allowed to like make any mistakes or anything like that. And then I feel like
Yeah.
coming out of that into the adult world, you are like very sheltered, and then things happen where you're just like, whoa, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like,
And all of a sudden, yeah, I think after school or out of uni, all of a sudden you're expected to be normal in
yeah,
a relationship.
yeah,
Be
yeah.
normal with a guy you've never met, or like
No.
with a species that you don't know how
Yeah.
they handle things emotionally or
No.
physically,
Yeah.
like, and then you're supposed to be normal. You're
Yeah.
supposed to all of a sudden you're supposed to know how
Yeah.
things work,
Exactly.
how to communicate with this person
Yeah.
and understand this person's habits,
Yeah.
and then somehow make it work
Yeah.
because everyone else did.
Yeah, that's like, I think it's so important, like, for like young, like very young people listening. when it comes to the topic of marriage, like, just wait. Honestly, there is no rush. Just wait. There's no timeline, there's no box to tick. Like, when I hear people getting married at like 17, 18, I like I'm like you're just a
Why?
baby. I know, like, I just can't like wrap my brain around it, because you are just like coming out of our schooling system, because we know how sheltered and like small it is, and then like you're expected to like get married and live with this person for the rest of your life. Like, that's a
Yeah.
big commitment, so like, wait as much as you, like, if you can live together, like, do like, just experience life, grow as a
Yeah, right.
person.
Before you settle,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because, and the thing is, like, once you're married, like, divorce alone is such a freaking, like, taboo. So then
Yes.
you feel guilty to
Yeah.
even do that. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Right.
it's a big commitment.
Yeah, I think with the new generations things are changing, but it's gonna take a lot to get there. But
It is, yeah.
yeah, I think I don't. Yeah, it should be the change should be made in the fundamentals of our society, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work to be done and a long way to go.
Yeah. And I think that's what we are kind of
yeah.
hoping to kind of bring light as well, right? Like, with our podcast.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we are not professionals. We're just talking about our
Our
experience being
experiences.
two
Yeah.
millennials growing up in that,
Yeah.
context, and then moving out of that and seeing the world in a different light, and
Yes.
like sharing our experiences with you,
Yeah.
hoping that in some way it'll help you. That's what we want, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and also I just wanted to also touch on how, well, based on our experiences, as much as these things like romantic relationships aren't something that you should think about when you're young, is what we're told. But even though we're told that, we have certain expectations, certain like I don't know, standards when it comes to from a young age. We're like, oh, this is what I want in a partner, but at a very young age, because it's something you're told that
Yeah.
you're gonna eventually do,
Yeah.
right? So what was your sort of expectations when you were young? It's like, oh, this is something I would want in a partner, because these things, these expectations, these standards evolve as we grow.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
something you wanted when you were young is not
No.
not so important
No.
when you're at this age. So what about you? Like, what was your like sort of criteria in choosing your ideal partner when you were young?
Oh my God. I
Do you
think,
remember?
yeah, like, briefly, yes. I think for me, like I said, it was like very much like, you have a boyfriend only when you are in uni or out of uni.
Yes.
And even then, it's like very heavily scrutinized who you
Yeah.
can be with.
Yeah.
But my ideals kind of, I think, stem down from my dad, because obviously that's what I saw. And I kind of, like, my parents were never like, oh, you have to be like a stay-at-home mom or partner or whatever. It was never
Yeah.
the case. But that's kind of what I grew up seeing. So that's kind of what I was kind of expecting.
Right.
Yeah, I think I kind of wanted someone who was like so romantic. Like flowers every day, chocolates,
Yeah.
that kind of silly
Yeah.
things,
That is so Ryan, isn't it?
Oh my God, he could not be like the furthest thing away from that. Like, so that was like my thing. But I had a very specific physical
Oh.
need. Like, I was just like, he has to be dark skinned. Like, I love dark skin.
Oh.
Yeah, and he has to be able to sing. He has to be able to swim. Like,
Oh. Girl, I had the same thing.
you do
Oh my
the
God.
swimming or everything else.
Yeah, singing, swimming, dancing, being able to play the guitar,
Oh,
being
gosh.
able to ride bicycles because I couldn't,
That's so
being
random.
very physically active. I had a massive list when I was young. I was like, needs to be, because I never thought that I would be able to cook, or I didn't see myself cooking. It's like, it would be amazing if he's a chef. need to love dogs, need to have a good sense of humor,
Yeah.
need to read.
Yeah.
It was a
So how
never-ending
many of
list.
those does MJ tick?
He can't sing. He can move, but I don't know if that counts as dancing. He cannot cook to save his life.
Really? Oh God.
He's somewhat active. He can swim, but cannot save a drowning person, so that is no use to me.
Can you swim?
No,
No,
that's
so
why I wanted someone who could
okay,
swim.
fine, yeah. For me, it was like, because I can swim. I wanted someone with the
Oh,
swimmer
right.
arms, like that's all. But Ryan
Oh,
cannot
that is
swim.
very good, though.
Like yesterday we
Oh,
went.
he can't?
He's gonna like be so mad that I'm saying this on the podcast. But when we went to like this waterfall, he was like, okay. You go in, you do your thing, but please don't drown because I can't come in to rescue you. I'm just gonna have to let you go.
So does he? So was he sitting outside, like
He
outside
was,
of the
he
water?
was, he was like sitting in the rain. The poor guy he was
What?
just like sitting in the rain, like waiting. And I felt so bad. I was like, just come in, like put your feet in at least. He's like, no, it's okay, I'll stay here.
What? It's like taking your child to like a play area.
This is what
and
happens
like,
every time. Every time we go to the water, like because he can't swim, and he just does that. But I told him I was like, okay, this year for your birthday, I'm gonna get you swimming lessons, and like you
Yeah.
can learn. He's like, okay, fine, I'll do that.
or a life jacket so he can float around.
But I think because he's not very confident in the water, like he's probably wouldn't do that either.
Oh.
So he needs to get his confidence, But yeah, it's so funny.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But he
that
could
he
sing.
Still took you though.
He could sing. That was like huge for me, and he was dark skinned. So those two, like he checked those two.
Nice.
Yeah.
But how has it, like, obviously you had all these, list of things that you would want in a person. What more things did you add as you grew older, or what things, what sort of, it more like as you grow older, it changes the list of things, the list of skills that the
Yeah.
partner needs to have changes to more like the qualities they
Exactly.
need to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And, the thinking processes or the ideologies they need to have. So what sort of things were like a deal breaker for you, or how did it go?
I think, yeah, like you said, the older you get, obviously your focuses change, and it becomes less about the physical aspects and more about how they can be in a partnership with you, I
Yeah,
think like
right, yes.
how are they going to support me, and how are we going to build a life together, and then that's what you basically focus on. So I think, yeah, things that as I grew up that I started focusing on was more like I just really want someone like really kind. Because I feel like when you want, like you have someone, obviously when you're younger, you don't like think, oh, I want someone kind. You obviously think, oh, I want someone handsome. But then when you grow
Yes.
up, it's like, I don't really care about the handsome. Because I feel
Yeah.
like when you're kind, you kind of become a more well-rounded person where you are kind enough to notice when your partner is like down or upset, and then
Yeah.
find ways to support them, and then you're kind to other
Yeah.
people, you're kind to the waiter, you're kind to animals. Like it's like a huge thing,
Yeah.
And also I
That's
think
what's gonna help you with the long way to go
Yeah.
with your partner, right? Not like as you get older, the other things
looks
fade
fade,
out.
exactly.
Whereas,
Yeah, exactly. So I think for me that was like one of the biggest things, and kind of being aware of like this happened when I started being more aware of things like becoming aware of things like therapy and mental health and all that kind of thing. I was thinking like I want someone who is like aware of their problems, their trauma, their history, and then take active steps to get over that, or like
work on it.
work on it and become a better
Yeah.
person. And I'm very lucky that Ryan, in that way, he's very good with that. So
Yeah.
that was like massive to me, because I feel like that would contribute a lot to a partnership,
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah.
What were yours?
I agree with most of it. I think I think as I grew older, especially because MJ and I, we sort of knew each other, but we mostly like hung out like in Australia.
Yeah.
So at that time of my life, I was like, I'm here to do something and I'm gonna get it done. I've got like, you know, responsibility because my parents have, you know,
Invested so much.
invested so much in me. So I basically was sure, I was like, I had a very clear goal in mind. Was like, I don't need another project to work on, okay? I
Yeah.
need someone that I can look up to, someone who can help me grow and, you know, work and be supportive of each other's achieving their goals. I need someone who was very disciplined because I feel like I struggle a bit in that department. So I need someone who's very committed, who's like, because I'm not gonna stay in a relationship if I'm not being respected, if I'm not like, if we aren't serving our purpose together, I'm not gonna stay in a bad relationship just because, you know, I like the person. I feel like I'm quite determined that way. Like I'm disciplined enough to leave a bad relationship if that's no longer serving me or like serving my purpose. Or so I was very clear with that, and I needed someone that I can look up to, someone who's very committed, and someone who is very responsible, someone who is obviously loving and caring. That's the bare minimum, I guess. But someone who's very kind at the same time, and also very welcoming to other people, and who would like love and take care of my family the same way I do, and who understands the responsibility I have as an older child in a family as well. So those were the sort of, I guess that long list got redefined and into those kind of things.
Yes, so I think that leads nicely into what we wanted to talk about next, which is the concept of love languages. And I think this has recently blown up quite a bit, you know, with social media and things, because the whole concept of love languages came, I think, in like the 50s or the 80s or something. Like it was some time ago.
I think so. That's what I thought, because I remember like someone mentioning that this has been there for ages or whatever. But I read about this person who introduced this whole concept, and they said that was in 1992.
Oh, okay.
Which is only like what, 32 years ago.
Yeah, okay. I thought I saw that it was before that, but I'm not sure.
Right. I don't know. Well, yeah, this is as I read. Well, maybe I think that's when they published it.
Oh,
or whatever.
okay. Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a book written about it, right? Yeah.
Yes. So this whole concept was introduced by someone called Dr. Gary Chapman in 1992. He reckons, so the whole concept is that he reckons we all have an emotional sort of love tank that needs to be filled by our loved ones in order for us to feel loved. So that's essentially the gist of it. So I think back in the day, I think he's named like five love languages, but as it's evolved now, like people seem to think that there's more to it than this five, because it's not so black and white, right? It's not. Humans, it's not. So essentially the five love languages he's introduced is words of affirmation, acts of service, giving or receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Right? And then there was, in one of the websites, there was a really nice taco analogy to this.
I did see that, yes.
Did you see that? It was really cute. Yeah. So words of affirmation is like saying your tacos are delicious. And then acts of service is like, oh, I made you tacos. And then receiving gifts is like, here's a taco. And then quality time is, let's go out for tacos together. And then physical touch is, let me hold you like a taco. I love it. I love that
so
bit. I know.
I'm like so picturing two tacos, like, you know, holding each other.
Yeah,
so
it's
cute.
just so cute.
Yeah.
But I think that do cover a lot of the emotions we feel as adults in sort of like the relationships we have.
And this is not
But
just romantic relationships. I think we're talking
yes,
about
this is like
platonic
yeah,
relationships, friendships, all that. Yeah.
yeah, of course. But yeah, he believes that we, like as humans, we have 1 to 2 fundamental like love languages that's closest to us. But I think it's important to note that his findings, although he's a doctor, he's not a licensed therapist or a
He's
psychologist
a
or anyone
pastor,
like that.
isn't he?
He is. He's a
Yes.
Baptist pastor, I
Pastor.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's and because he's not like a licensed therapist or anyone, and his research, like all these things he's introduced, his concepts, his research isn't like his findings aren't based on a clinical research or
Yeah.
anything like
Yeah.
that. So there isn't actual data to back it
Yeah.
up. But he has a PhD, I think, in adult education or things like that. He knows how to, like, and he's been a marriage counselor for a
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So he knows how relationships work. It's
Yeah.
not like he knows nothing about this,
Yeah.
but he has some sort of experience to
Yeah.
do with these relationships. But yeah, what do you know what your love languages are?
Yes, so actually, before we go on to that, I think we should preface by saying that we don't fully support everything that Dr. Gary Chapman,
Yeah. Yeah.
says,
Oh,
because,
yeah.
there have been, like, he's a bit controversial in terms of he's made homophobic statements and things like that. So obviously we
Yeah.
don't support any of that. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
This is just us purely talking about the concept of love languages and, just taking what we can from that, So that's
Yeah.
all it is. But for me, I think it's my love language, I think, would definitely be acts of service. 100%.
too.
Yeah. I think
Yes.
I have a little bit like a combination, but mostly acts of service. Absolutely. And I think from what I read, like they were saying your childhood, your upbringing can determine your love language as well.
Yeah.
And now, like in retrospect, looking back on my childhood, I think my mum's love language was also definitely acts of service. So she
I think
would.
that's quite common in brown parents, though. I
Yeah,
feel like,
that's
words of
true.
affirmation isn't
No,
really their
it's like,
thing.
what's that?
It's like, it's non-existent. That's like, oh, what is that? You don't say that.
Absolutely.
no.
So true.
That's not our
Physical
thing.
touch? No.
Oh, absolutely not. absolutely
unless you're getting caned.
Yeah, that's right. Words of affirmation. I mean, what in the world is
And
that?
it's like
even?
physical. Ew, no, we don't touch each other. Like, how were you born?
It's a
Like,
big
no one asked that question. You just
No.
fell from
You
the
get
sky.
married and bam, you have a baby. You get pregnant and have a baby. You know what? I remember I was young and I was watching this TV show or something in when I was in Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
in like the Sirasa or something. You know those Hindi TV shows, like
Oh,
that they
yeah.
dub. And then I remember I was so young, and then I remember this girl in this TV show got pregnant, and I think she wasn't married or something, so it
Okay.
was a big no. So I
Yeah.
remember saying, oh, "She's pregnant," and the camera was like, and I thought. Because everyone was so shocked, I thought she was gonna die because it was a disease. And I was like, "Oh my god, she's gonna die!" And this is so bad. This is why everyone's so
God.
shocked. I remember. Oh, I'm so dumb.
That's
But
so
anyway,
cute. Oh my god.
yeah. I was like, "This is a disease. This is like cancer. They're gonna die."
I mean, kind of right. Like to brown parents, like if you get pregnant without being married, that is kind of like, death right
Might
there.
as well just
You're
die.
dead. You might as well, just go jump off a bridge or something. You're dead to us. You're dead.
Yes.
I just love that
Shouldn't
we
laugh,
can.
but it is.
I just love that we can laugh about our trauma.
Yeah. Yes. But anyway, how did he get here?
But
Oh, yeah. Brown parents, love language, acts of service.
Acts of
That's a
service.
big, yeah, that's
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
they're very overprotective. They want to give their child the
Yeah.
best of everything, and yeah. So,
Yeah.
like for an example, if you say you like something, like a fruit or something, the next day you'll get like thousands of it.
You'll have enough for like a month. Yeah, absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think like that's the same like for my mom, she used to always say when she would cook food and she would serve for my dad first and he would get like the main share. Then the three of us would get the three of us would get it. And then the maid, she would serve food for the maid, and then finally she would serve for for herself,
Oh, that's
whatever
so
was remaining. And my mom was very much like she would like cook and feed everyone in the neighborhood, take food for everyone, like my dad's
Yeah.
sisters, everyone was just fed constantly, always
Yeah.
doing stuff for them. So I think I've learned from that, and I'm very much an acts of service
Yes.
person as well.
And that's embedded in our culture. Like,
Yeah.
for an example, I remember during COVID times when my parents got COVID, I remember all of these neighbors, like, they cooked food for them. They got everything they need for them. And they did the same for their
Yeah,
neighbors when they got sick. So it's, like, very embedded,
It
deep
is,
rooted in our
yeah.
culture.
There's so much beauty,
But-
I feel like, even though we talk so much
Yeah.
shit about our culture. I mean, there's so much good in it as well. It's,
Yeah.
obviously there's like the negative side of it as well. But we should celebrate the good as well, right?
Good. Yeah, right. So yeah, I think acts of service. I think mine are like acts of service. It's a combination between acts of service and quality time.
Okay.
I think yeah. Like similar to like your mom. I really like cooking
Yeah.
or like cooking food for MJ or my family or my friends who like things. And then if MJ says that he wants to come home to a clean space, it's like I would clean it up for him. Or if he's craving something, I could cook it for him. So that's my love language. And especially when I go home as well, I know because my mom still sort of works, like every time, like even if I'm like visiting her, like every time she comes home, I would like have the whole house cleaned. Not because she wanted me to when I was like young too, but
Younger,
now like I
yeah.
don't really have to do it, but I still do it
Do
because I
it.
know she's gonna appreciate coming to a clean house.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
And I think that's where
think-
like being aware of the love languages is important, because you can kind of
Yes.
cultivate relationships based on that.
Mm.
Because one thing that I read that Gary Chapman had said was when he initially, like when he first got married, his wife and him would have a lot of like issues.
Right.
And then, I think she had said something about, oh, you just never close like the cupboards behind you or something like that. And then when they were talking about it, like she mentioned this and said it sounded so important to him.
Yeah.
And then she was like, oh, if you love me so much, why don't you just like clean up or something? And then that's when he got this idea like, oh, so I never really thought that's how I'm supposed to show love, because for him,
Yes.
showing love was something else. Whereas to her,
yeah.
this is what love is. So I think for me, I'm the
Yeah.
same. Like if I come home like to a messy home or a dirty home, the dish is not done,
Yes.
I just go into like, I become like a demon, I get so
Yes.
angry because I'm
Yeah.
like, if you love me, like why have you not kept the space clean? But then
Yes.
Ryan's love language is definitely not acts of service. His
Yeah.
is more like gift giving or gift receiving. And that's why, like, even for my birthday, he was talking about the gifts to get for me months ahead. He was like, what do you want? Like, so that I can plan this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want anything. Because I think the older I get, I've realized that if I want something, I can buy it.
Exactly. It's not, it doesn't feel
No.
like special anymore.
No, it
you know
doesn't.
what I mean?
Yeah, because you have the like financial capacity to do that. So
Yeah.
for me, other things like acts of service, quality time, that stuff's like more
Right, I
important.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas his
I
is,
100% agree.
yeah, very much like gift giving and
Gift-giving.
that. So I've like now over the last 8 years, I've come to realize, okay, that's who he is. And I cater to that as well. Like, when it's his birthday or whatever, then I just go out of my way to make sure he
Yeah.
gets that. Because sometimes, even if I try to like, because like, quality time, I like that as well. So I'm like, oh, like we should plan this on your birthday and go and do that. And he's just like, no, I don't want that. Like, why? I just want to stay at home and like And I'm just like, what do you
Yeah.
mean? But then, we had to kind of work through that to know
Yes.
that
Yeah.
we are different in that way.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's important to know that like this is not like this is not a way of finding out if you're compatible
Compatible or
with your
not.
partner.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not a compatibility
No,
test.
no.
It's important to know that, and I think it's a way of understanding. It's a way of understanding how others feel loved and
Yeah.
making sure that you're loving them, so they like you're doing things to match their love language, so
Yeah.
they're actually feeling loved, because you
Yeah.
might be like showing your love and they might not be feeling it.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
For the longest time I feel like MJ used to think like, when I said like, oh, I want to spend some quality time with you, but he used to think like, if we watch his favorite TV show together, that was quality time. I was like,
That's adorable.
maybe for you.
With yourself.
But now he understands that I like my love language is more acts of service. So he goes out of his way to make sure the house is clean when I come home. And like he's done all the chores so that we don't have to so we actually can spend some quality time together,
Exactly. Yeah.
not doing anything else. So I think it's really important to love the person using their love language, so they feel loved.
Yeah. And again, like we are kind of talking about romantic relationships, obviously.
Yeah.
And you can use this in other relationships, like relationships with your parents. Like I know with my mom, like I said, it's acts of service. So like the more I kind of do
Yes.
that, then she's like happier. And
Yeah.
with your friendships, if maybe it's quality time, so you like your
Yeah.
best friend likes to spend time with you, so you make time, a set time in your week to talk to them, if you're in a like have a
Yeah.
long distance relationship, or if you're like closer together, to actually go out and meet them. It's kind of knowing that, I mean, obviously it takes a little bit of time to find that out. And if you're
Yeah.
unsure, I think it's really good to like ask. Don't you reckon?
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah,
too.
now that we are more aware of like, okay, there are these 5 love languages. I feel like if someone asks me, I would be like, wow, like I really respect that, because you're actually making an effort to cultivate this relationship. So
Yes,
I think that's really
yes.
great.
You want to know how I feel like loved and
Yeah.
how I feel special,
Yeah.
and because you want to invest in that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
So I think that's very
exactly.
thoughtful.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I saw this thing where like, personality tests and things like that is not like a massive thing in our culture, but I know that it is like, I know this because I watch a lot of K-dramas and I know a lot of their content and things like that. But in their culture, when you go on a date with someone, or when you first meet someone, the first thing is like, oh, what's your first personality type?
Okay.
And then they share that, and then they're like, oh, so you're this kind of person. So they make an effort
Right.
to know what the other person's personality type is, so they know how to deal with them. They know what their strengths and weaknesses are. They know what to say and what not to say, what's going to trigger them, what's gonna make them feel happy, and
Yeah.
what's gonna make them
Yeah.
feel appreciated. So I think that was really very thoughtful
It
and
is,
very
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
So in our as a part of our grad program as well, we were asked to do this personality test as well,
Right.
and this was a very this is the basic one, which I don't know if you've heard, called the DISC profile. So it's like the personalities are divided into 4 major categories, but I think there are other tests. It's more like, it's like a 5-letter word, or IFNJ or whatever.
Okay.
There's that personality test, but this is a very basic one, which is
Okay.
like 4 quadrants, which is D is dominant, I is influential, S is, I think, steadiness, and then C is conscientious. So most of the time, it's, as we said before, humans are not so black and white. So you're not going to be a D, you're not going to be an
Yeah,
I.
yeah.
You're most likely to have a few of
Little
these
bit of
qualities. So you're
everything,
going to
yeah.
be a C and a D.
Yeah.
So when I did that test, I was like, I'm a hard, solid C. That is it.
Really?
But I've been told like a lot of engineers tend to be C, because they're very because I also did that as a part of my grad program. This is more work or career focused as well. A lot of engineers tend to be a majority of C because they're very detail oriented and they're very process oriented, and they want as much detail as you want, whereas some people, they don't really focus on the details. They just want results. They just want to keep going. They want to get closer and closer to the goal. They don't really care about the details as long as you get there. But I think it was really nice to see everyone in the room of different personalities. I was like, oh, this is what's important to you, this is what you don't care about. So it's really, when you're engaging with these people, because you meet all these different kinds of people in your life, and if everyone was the same, then that would be very boring and very basic, right? So it's nice to know these things before you approach them, and make them feel appreciated, make them feel welcomed, and create an inclusive environment, I guess.
Exactly.
But and love languages is one of the other things like that, that can be beneficial for knowing, that can be beneficial for all your relationships, right?
Definitely.
But and I think another important point that I read was, like, there was someone called Linda Carroll. She was a licensed marriage counselor as well. She thinks that this whole analogy of the love languages addresses the most important part of a healthy relationship, which is understanding your partner is not you. And which is something that I think I struggle a bit, and I struggled a bit as well. I think a couple of weeks ago, I remember MJ saying, Shani, I think you forget that I'm not you. Okay? I don't think the same way you do. And because that's what I think, right? I see something and my brain works the same way, and I think MJ's brain works the same way. And I'm surprised when he doesn't have the same idea, right? Which it shouldn't, because he's his own person, and he doesn't have to think the same way I do. He doesn't have to see the same things that I do. But which I think a lot of people can struggle with, especially with the culture we're growing up, where we don't know how the opposite or the opposite sex works or thinks, and then all of a sudden you're in a relationship with them, and you're
I think one thing
very important.
my therapist said as well, like some time ago, was like there's a big difference between men and women, like how our brains work. And what she said was, like, if you get really frustrated with a male, kind of look at it like, obviously this is not just with Ryan, like with other male relationships you have as well. Women are, at the end of the day, better at multitasking. Like, again, it's generalizing because, maybe sometimes you are not so good at it. But as a whole, women are, because men kind of have a box in their head where they focus only on that box, whatever's in that box at that one time. Whereas I feel like with us, we are constant. This is probably evolutionary as well, coming down from evolution where, we are constantly doing things, at different times. And that's how we are as females. So.
Yeah. And have you read that book, Men Are From Mars?
I have the book. I haven't read it yet. Have you?
Me neither. No, I haven't read it as well, but MJ has. And every time we have like an, not an argument or like anything over this, and it's like, he ends the conversation, it's like, you should read this book, Men Are From Mars,
It's a very old book, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And it's like, you would understand this situation a lot better, because I'm constantly expecting him to be me.
Yeah.
So it's just a bit of dispatch there. So he's like, you should read this book. It's really good. But I should.
I know. I think I will start tonight as well, because I finished one of my other books. So there you go. I have another book that I can start.
Maybe we can both read it, and we can talk about it in the next week. Yeah. Oh, look at our little book club.
Look at us coming up with ideas on the spot.
Yeah, right.
Great.
So and I think it was very interesting to see how, like, I think it's like that person said as well. So it's very important. Like, this is a sort of the love languages are a sort of tool that you can get to know another person. And I think I saw somewhere in that article where people also tend to use it as a sort of something against someone as well. Because let's say there's two people and one person's love language is physical touch and the other person's not, which can be a bit intimidating because physical touch is a big thing. It's like crossing a boundary,
That's
and
the thing.
someone
Yeah.
can use it against them, saying, "Oh, my love language is physical touch. So if you don't want to do this, then you know."
I think physical touch, there's a lot that comes under physical touch, because obviously when you say physical touch in a relationship, everyone straight away jumps to sex, but that's not what it is. You know, there's like so much more. It's holding hands, like even
Hands,
something
hugs.
like patting on the head, patting on the shoulder. That is
Yes.
all physical touch. It's
Yes.
so much, you know, and even with friends, like
Yeah.
giving a hug, that kind of thing. But like what we need to remember, like obviously consent, like that's where consent comes in, right? That's where it's like
Exactly.
very
Yes.
important. And if your
Yeah.
partner or your friend or whoever is like uncomfortable with, like they're not a huggy person or something, then maybe
You're going to respect their
yeah, you have to
boundaries
respect
and,
that, because like you said, physical touches, I feel like it's kind of different from the others, because you are getting in someone's space, like very personal space,
yes.
you know?
Yeah.
So
You're making physical contact, right?
yeah,
So it's a bit
yeah, because
of a
sometimes
tricky.
like with physical touch, some people may not like it for like a variety of reasons. Maybe like I saw this as well in one of the articles. It said maybe they were not touched enough when they were younger, like maybe they were not hugged enough by their parents or caregivers or
Yeah.
whatever. Or it could be that they were touched too much in terms of like, you know, sexual, like they were, you
Yeah.
know, abused or
In
something.
an
It could
inappropriate way.
inappropriate way. Yeah. So it could be so many things, and like, and they're allowed to feel that way. That's fine, you know? So
Yeah.
you have to kind of understand that when it comes to it with physical touch, it is about consent, and it's about
Yeah.
respecting boundaries.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, relationships are a lot of work. And you got to put in the effort to build that, to make sure that the foundation's very stable in that
Yeah.
relationship, and make sure both parties are feeling loved and welcomed and appreciated and respected. So you have to cultivate and make sure that environment's set up that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think
Yeah.
that's the key to a healthy
So true.
relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a very interesting discussion,
Yeah,
I think.
absolutely.
I think we've all learned something, and
Definitely. I hope you've
I
all
think-
learned something as well from
yeah,
that.
yeah. So it's been really nice to get together and discuss all of these topics. And if you guys have any more suggestions on more topics that we can discuss, please
Yeah.
comment them.
We have got a few suggestions as well.
Yeah.
And there was a suggestion to talk more girly topics, which I love. Like, I love that. It's so cute.
Yeah,
So-
I think I saw someone commenting, saying that that this is like listening to our podcast is now in her wind down routine, which made me so happy.
That's
I
so
was like,
cute.
oh,
Really?
girl.
Oh, I love that.
It's just so cute.
Oh, I
yeah,
love
so we
that.
do appreciate the lovely
Yeah.
feedback we've been getting. And I think last time, I think this last episode we did a Q&A episode where we answered a bunch of questions, but there were questions that we didn't answer in that podcast, which we are planning to discuss in the future in
Yes.
episodes. So tune in for those as well. But yeah, if you've got more questions, more topics, and more suggestions, please comment them in our videos. And yeah, please also don't forget to share with your other brown girlies. And follow us in our socials, Instagram and TikTok, I think, and also YouTube.
Yes. Yes.
I haven't fully gotten that script ready yet on
I
how
know.
to say all of these things. We need a proper
We'll get
script.
better. Maybe like after 100 episodes, it'll come
Yeah.
easily to us.
What if it's like the 101th episode and we're just
We're still
still
struggling. Like, what were those channels again?
yeah. We need MJ to write us a proper script.
Yeah, exactly. The
And, yeah.
professionals.
Click on the bell icon.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Subscribe, yes. But no, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
And thank you, Shanali, for joining me with this
Likewise, Desh.
in this
Thank
episode.
you. It's been really,
But yeah.
really nice.
Yeah, it's been really good, and I really hope like all our listeners have a wonderful week ahead.
Yep.
Yeah, stay safe. Eat lots of healthy food.
Yep.
Be active. Get out there and be exposed to the sun, but wear your sunscreen.
Yes.
Drink a lot of water.
And know your partners and your friends and your family's love languages.
Families' love languages.
Yes.
And love them accordingly.
Yes. Okay, guys, take care.
That's the lesson. All right.
We'll see you
Take
next
care.
time.
See you.
Bye.